But why our governments are so helpless on this issue? The humanity is planning to go to Mars and we cannot fix auto insurance problem.
We're hearing criminals laugh about the weak laws that we have, and you got to wonder why that is.
Minister, is becoming a kind of boring question for journalists now to ask about auto theft. We as a society, as a community, cannot let it become normal. Is there anything else, any strong measure that the government can take to stop this now?
865 auto theft investigations and 341 charges against 81 individuals.
Minister, recently a carjacking incident happened in Etobicoke when a father was dropping his kids in school. So look like these guys don't care about the law and the police. They are totally fearless.
Some scumbag with a gun sticks a gun to your head, says, give me the keys to your car. You call it in, police arrest the guy, and then what? You see them out at Walmart the next day.
Province should declare a state of emergency on auto theft. Will that help?
Those are federally regulated points of entry and transportation spaces where nothing is happening. You know, we keep hearing it's coming, but we don't see any action.
If the government cannot protect us, then allow us to keep guns to protect ourselves.
90% of crime guns that are used in the GTA in Ontario are directly traceable to the United States.
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ ਕਾਰਜੈਕਿੰਗ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਆਟੋ ਥੈਫਟ ਅਤੇ ਬੇਲ ਰਿਫਾਰਮ ਅਤੇ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਤੋਂ ਐਮਪੀ ਨੇ ਮੈਕਗ੍ਰੈਗਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਵੈਲਕਮ।
Hey, good morning, Jasvir. Sat Shri Akal, Namaskar, Assalamu Alaikum to the audience. Happy to be on the show.
Minister, is becoming a kind of boring question for journalists now to ask about auto theft, carjacking, and the politician also repeat same things again and again. So, but we as a society, as a community, cannot let it become normal. Is there anything else, any strong measure that the government can take to stop this now?
Yeah, I definitely understand the frustration, and it's a crime that unfortunately has risen over the last few years. You know, what I would say to the audience and what I'd say to you is that we are starting to see some good trends happening across our province. So auto theft across Ontario is down 17%. And in specific regions, it varies. I was in Durham region 2 weeks ago with the Durham Regional Police Service, celebrating the results of Project Attire. That was a 8% reduction, but also importantly, 865 auto theft investigations and 341 charges against 81 individuals that Durham Regional Police Service laid. In large part due to the Preventing Auto Theft grant that the provincial government put to them. So we are seeing our targeted investments work. I understand the frustration. We still have a lot of frustration on the criminal code and things that I've talked to you about that your audience knows well. But we are taking this problem very seriously, and we're doing everything we can to curb what we're seeing.
Minister, recently a carjacking incident happened in Etobicoke when a father was dropping his kids in school. So look like these guys don't care about the law and the police. They are totally fearless. And people say we are moving towards becoming a lawless society.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rise in carjackings and violent offenses, frankly, we're hearing criminals laugh about the weak laws that we have, and you got to wonder why that is. In 2019, I know you know this, your audience may not, but the Liberal government under Prime Minister Trudeau brought in a law called Bill C-75, which basically stripped our criminal code and prioritized the rights of criminals and suspected criminals over the rights of people to feel safe. On bail specifically, it stipulated that judges have to consider the least restrictive form of bail possible when they're considering making the determination. They've got to take the socioeconomic circumstances of the offender into the account and prioritize what is best for the offender over what is best for the community and the public. So we put out a letter 2 months ago being very prescriptive with the federal government on what they could do to fix the criminal code, and it was a few things. One, was mandatory remand, so no bail provisions for serious violent offenses. So if you're arrested for murder, terrorism, violent carjacking, having an illegal firearm, human trafficking, you shouldn't have an option to receive bail. You should automatically be detained, put in jail. Let's get the trial underway. If they're innocent, we can release them after trial. We also wanted to bring in a 3-strike rule. So if you're hauled in front of a judge 3 times for bail, mandatory jail time, so that you're held in jail while we figure out the trial. Mandatory minimums. We used to, under Stephen Harper, there was a law around sentencing once people were convicted, 4 years minimum for using an illegal firearm in the conduct of offense. So an armed robbery, a carjacking, something like that. If these guys knew that they were going to face 4 years minimum behind bars, I think we'd see a lot less of them doing it. And frankly, when police catch the scumbags that are doing this in our neighborhoods, they would be behind bars. They wouldn't be out doing this crime time and time again. So I know it feels like we're banging our head against the wall. The federal government doesn't seem to get it. But we need strict criminal code, and we need them to take this seriously.
So you mean federal government is solely responsible for this whole situation?
No, I think we got to be clear about who's responsible for crime, right? And it's not governments, it's not police. The people responsible for crime are criminals who are conducting the crimes. But it's incumbent on governments to hold those criminals accountable. So the provincial government has a role through enforcement and through making sure that the legal process happens. And we've been doing that. We've stepped up. I'll talk about Toronto alone. We invest over $32 million every year in provincial grants enforcing it. I'll note in Toronto, where you mentioned, auto thefts are actually down 21% this year. And the chief says it's due to focused responses, focused efforts targeting these offenses. But what we're seeing with some of the brazenness of these criminals is they know that they feel and know in many cases that there's no consequences for their actions because they've got a weak, stripped down criminal code. I mean, my heart goes out to the victim. We hear from police chiefs, the Toronto chief, our Peel chief, the Durham chief, time and time again saying that we need criminal code reform. And I imagine it's frustrating for them, but think about putting yourself in that victim's shoes. Imagine you're the victim of a violent carjacking. Some scumbag with a gun sticks a gun to your head, says, give me the keys to your car. You call it in, police arrest the guy, and then what? You see them out at Walmart the next day because of a weak criminal code which prioritizes their rights over your rights. It's not right. It needs to stop. And that's why we've continued to put our pressure on Ottawa to fix the criminal code. A lot of things we're doing on the provincial level as well. But we need that criminal code to be fixed. We need to hold people accountable and put them behind bars.
Minister, some suggest that province should declare a state of emergency on auto theft. Will that help? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd say we're certainly treating it like an emergency, and we have been for years. That's why we put forward, a $51 million plan. That's why we've invested in getting helicopters for Peel, for Halton, for Toronto. So that police have more tools to crack down on these guys. That's why we've invested in dedicated auto theft prosecution units. And, we're seeing a lot of the work, frankly, the provincial investments being put to good use by police. 21% reduction in Toronto, a 20% reduction in Ottawa, 8% reductions in Durham and Peel, 30% reduction in York Region from this year to last year. The unfortunate reality is I'm not saying those numbers to say the job's done because those numbers are still way too high because of the spike we've seen in the 5 years preceding. But our investments are taking effect. I'll be blunt, part of the reason why we're seeing so much auto theft happening in the GTA is because these organized criminal elements are very good at it, and they make a lot of money at it. And one of the ways that they make money on it is you get some low-level criminal to steal a car out of a driveway. They drive it onto a transport truck. That truck gets to the CN rail yards in Brampton or Vaughan, or they drive up to Montreal. And those are federally regulated points of entry and transportation spaces where nothing is happening. We've been demanding backscatter scanners, so proper proper scanning, that can do random intervals, serious scanners at the Brampton and Vaughan rail yards for over a year now. And we hear the right things. We keep hearing it's coming, but we don't see any action. And it's frustrating for us, frustrating for law enforcement, but I think really frustrating for the residents and for your audience, frankly.
Yes. I heard some people saying that if the government cannot protect us, then allow us to keep guns to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I've heard people bring up the same point. Like that's a federal area that I won't dive into. I will say what you're seeing the federal government do right now around, they just added a few hundred more guns onto the illegal list. While I understand why that makes for a good headline, I don't know if that helps us keep us safe. One of the problems that we're running into, 90% of crime guns that are used in the GTA in Ontario are directly traceable to the United States. So these guns are illegal anyway. And then of the 10% that aren't directly traceable to the United States, many of those have their serial numbers wiped off. They're untraceable. But frankly, a lot of those are coming over from the United States as well. And one of the things that we've been talking about, and you're hearing even the American president-elect, President Trump, talk about, is strengthening the border, right? Getting tough on the border. And this is something that we've been demanding for years and years. We saw a bit of an investment yesterday to give the federal government credit. They put $1.3 billion up over 6 years in their fall economic statement yesterday. Cool to get the money over the course of 6 years. We need investment now. This is something that we need to take seriously. So I'd say to the audience, keep up the pressure on your Liberal MPs. Let them know we need bail reform. We need the rail yards to be properly scanned, and we need the border. And then keep up the pressure. Look, if there's stuff that we need to do at the province, we're not shying away from the responsibility. But we've put, over $100 million into dedicated enforcement measures. We've got helicopters coming. We've got automatic license plate readers. We just brought in new penalties for VIN fraud, so fraudulent transactions at Service Ontario. A small minority of cars that are stolen are shared for domestic. So we've put in $100,000 fines for committing the fraud there. We've put in jail time on that as well. We've closed a lot of loopholes at Service Ontario and bolstered that. We're continuing to investigate and make sure that we find these people when they're committing crime and hold them accountable. But on those three items that I've talked about, the borders, the criminal code, and the rail yards in the Port of Montreal, we're really being let down. And this is a message we keep delivering to the feds, and hopefully they'll listen.
Minister, I also want to ask some questions about auto insurance. It's also getting out of control. And we heard that your government is planning to get third mandate next year. And PCs made promises to fix this problem in previous elections. Are you going to announce anything before you go to election this time?
Well, I won't pre-announce an announcement. What I'll say is we've been very focused on all kinds of cost of living measures, whether that's auto insurance or whether that's the price of gas. We cut the gas tax by 10 cents per liter. The license plate stickers used to cost $120 every year. We've put that money back into people's pockets. We've got tax rebate checks that are going out, and we're also putting in a lot of new enforcement measures to try to keep our roads safe, including stiffer penalties for drunk drivers, for reckless drivers, stunt driving. We're allowing police to enforce stunt driving in plazas, which I know is a huge issue here in Brampton, where I'm from. If we make our roads safer, if there are less accidents, that'll help bring the insurance down. But there's a whole suite of other things that we have done to try to make driving a car cheaper and more affordable and more realistic for people.
Minister, before you leave, I want to ask again, if the government cannot fix this issue, auto insurance issue, then why the government is making it mandatory? People say don't impose this on us. Let us deal with our own fate.
What would be the justification there? I don't understand. Not make auto insurance mandatory.
In Brampton, we are paying $400, $500 for auto insurance.
So you're suggesting that the option instead would be allow people to drive without auto insurance and leave them in bad situations?
No, that's not my suggestion. My suggestion is fix it, make it affordable.
Yeah, no. So I agree. We should fix it and make it affordable. This idea that people shouldn't look. I don't like paying auto insurance. I've got a Brampton postal code. I live here. I pay auto insurance just like anybody else. I drive a two-door Honda Accord, not a cheap car to insure. So I get it, right? I totally get it. But to look at an option where we just would let people drive without insurance, that would be a total disaster. We see some of the problems when people aren't covered under OHIP at the hospital and how some of those bills really rack up. To the idea of putting that onto more people would be completely irresponsible and, frankly, a crazy idea. So I'm glad it's not your idea. Because it's certainly not ours. Look, auto insurance is a necessary evil. I don't like it any more than anybody else, but it is what it is. And we're going to continue to work to reduce that cost, and not only the auto insurance costs, but other costs of driving.
Yeah, but why our governments are so helpless on this issue? The humanity is planning to go to Mars, and we cannot fix auto insurance problem.
Yeah. Fair enough. Look, I empathize. It feels like banging my head against the wall, just like anybody else. But look, I think I've answered the question a few different ways now. I don't know if you're going to get another answer out of me here.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much for your time and speaking with us.